Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I promised you a show today, and I never lie.
Yeah.
I have a 14-inch penis.
Yeah, but it's not yours, though. Give it back.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Technicalities.
I want it back.
So, we're here to talk about the Browns playing the Chargers and the Cavaliers playing the Magic tonight. And so we have two different teams.
Two sports in one.
And I'll tell you, I'm higher on the Cavaliers than I am on the Browns. But
Oh my God, yeah.
so, I mean, that's something that's kind of fun, watching a team get off to a really good start for a change. The Guardians got off to a really great start. So,
they were awesome.
Hey, things are getting better. Before I get into the meat of the program, a big break for the Cavaliers, a real bummer for the Orlando Magic, our opponent tonight. Paolo Banchero is injured. He is out indefinitely with a torn oblique muscle.
Oh,
now,
tell us, Dr. Moo.
Yeah, Dr. Moo. The torn oblique is most often seen in baseball players.
Yeah, Travis Hafner, I think, spent half of his career with the torn oblique.
Yeah. The oblique is what allows you to twist
show
from
us
side to side.
Yeah.
So, you can't swing a bat. You can't do anything rotational with a torn oblique. And the thing that's really bad about the injury, it's like, cracked ribs.
Oh, God,
broken ribs. You can't do anything without re-irritating it. So Paolo Banchero is going to be out for quite a long time. And as we get into the program, you'll see that is going to really hurt a team that was trying to get a little momentum after last year's nice little run, the 7-game series against the Cavs in the first round of the playoffs. It's
he's a legitimate superstar. He kills the Cavs every time we play him. I mean, he absolutely assassinates them.
Well, he got off to a great start. He scored 50 points in a game and 31 in the one after, and he was looking really good. And then all of a sudden, that's all that it takes.
Yeah.
So, and before we get into the Browns, there's always hope because the Jets won. I'll tell you honestly. Well, I mean, the fan reaction to the guy dropping the ball in the end around when he had the clear path to the end zone, but dropping it before his feet were in the end zone and literally giving the ball back to the Texans was one of the funniest things. It was so Browns-esque. It was
very like, New York-esque these days.
Yeah. I mean, but the fans were like, they actually focused on like,
oh, the surrender cobra. That's my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, it's Cobra. Like they were in the movie Scanners. It's like there is no way that we could be this bad. It's like, oh, yes, there is. So they ended up winning. The Texans, for their part, really shit the bed and is not protecting C.J. Stroud.
I didn't see the game, so tell me what happened.
He was just running for his life. He was dropping back to pass, and when he was in the pocket, he was getting crushed, and he was sacked 8 times. It sounds Deshaun Watson-esque. Yep. And in the effort to try to get away from that, he was scrambling wide, and it was forcing him to run more with the ball and pass with the ball. The last 5 games that C.J. Stroud has played, he's only averaging about 200 yards passing and 58% completion. It's really Deshaun Watson-esque. Now, whether the league has figured something out, whether their offensive line is just a sieve or whatever, they don't look like the same team, even though they're 6-3. And you're saying, hey, things could be a lot worse in Houston. And I'll agree with you. I'd love to have a 6-3 record, but they are barely squeaking by teams like the Indianapolis Colts, who are playing with Anthony Richardson, not anymore, but really bad teams and barely beating really bad teams. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Texans. And as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, I mean, he's got nothing left, and it was the defense that sparked the Jets.
Well, they got decent defense. I mean, that's why we're talking Super Bowl. It's mainly because of the back end of the defense.
And Garrett Wilson's amazing OBJ catch in the end zone that held up for a big score in that game. That was fun to watch.
You know what's more amazing about Garrett Wilson is that he seems like a normal guy. He's not one of these typical wide receiver diva, throw their toys out of their trolley type of wide receiver. He seems like a normal team player, which is good.
What's really funny is, looking at social media, which I have to kind of track down where people are coming from, is as odd as it can be. There are people still talking about Deshaun Watson. And I mean,
that's so over. That's so last century.
Yeah, I know. It's like so past that, it's like it's over. It's done. He's not going to play anymore.
I got a question about social media. I saw something about somebody wanting to trade Nick Chubb. Is that actually a thing, or is that just social media bullshit? Or
no, they're really talking a lot about Myles Garrett, and that's really, but here's the truth. One guy, a commentator on the internet, stated that may have been a network guy, I don't know, ESPN guy, that
they're all the same.
Trading Myles Garrett to the Detroit Lions, who need a pass rusher because I guess Hutchinson got
hurt.
Yeah. So they're saying that and that they would be willing to give up 3 first-round draft picks and a partridge in a pear tree. So and so the Browns fans are coming back saying, you can't trade Myles. I said, for 3 fucking first round
I'd trade you for 3 first round picks.
Yeah. I mean, but people are being really goofy right now. Like, for example, Jameis Winston, who was yesterday's news at 30 years of age, and nobody cared where he went, and nobody really wanted him. It sounds like Joe Flacco, I know. And here he is, and
Sam Darnold.
And Browns fans are saying, we found our franchise quarterback, and I'm just
no, stop already.
I know they're as impulsive as Jimmy Haslam. Honest to God, I mean, you can't be serious. I mean, look, Jameis Winston is going to be the starting quarterback for a good long time.
As long as you don't get killed, we don't get killed.
I mean, because even if you were to lose the rest of your games and get a really high pick, that pick is not going to be a guaranteed superstar and will have to be groomed into a position. So either way you look at it, Jameis Winston is going to be your quarterback, and signing him for a long-term deal is something that only the idiot fans would do. And the truth is, you're not going to win with Jameis Winston, and you're not going to win with a rookie quarterback. You're not going to win with a second-year quarterback. With this team, but people still haven't realized, because we got this one fucking win against a Ravens team that really, I don't know what they were doing out there, but the Ravens weren't playing football.
No, they were awful.
They were bad. Yeah,
they were awful. They were,
and their defense has been bad.
They shipleyed the bed. They did.
So you get one win, and you know what they're saying. The people are saying, well, this could be the start of the playoff drive.
Playoffs. Wow.
Just unbelievable.
People are idiots, aren't they, Moo?
Yeah.
But not us. God damn it. We're not idiots. God damn it.
I just don't understand. But at any rate, that's what people are saying. It's like, we got to sign Jameis Winston for a long term. And, the only thing that's going to be long term right now is pain, because Jimmy Haslam has painted us into a corner, and the team isn't just going to get better in and of itself. And maybe for a week like last week, where we actually had our offensive line intact and playing, we looked better, but they're going to get injured all over again.
Get hurt again, yeah. Conklin's going to get conked out.
And isn't it interesting that after the best offensive line performance of the season, that Jedrick Wills is suddenly practicing again.
Ooh, yeah, he doesn't want to get cut. Like, bring back Michael Hudson III. I'd rather have him than Jedrick.
If I look at it this way, I'd say the guy
is lazy. He's a
yeah,
lazy
that's
fat
correct.
fuck. He's a lazy fat fuck. Can I say that?
Yeah, you just did. And Paramjot saying he wants to see Nick Chubb get into a grove, like an apple grove. No, a groove, I think is what he meant to say.
Well, both.
And
why not both?
I think what we want to see from Chubb is the ability to
plant his foot.
Basically. Yeah, that's right.
Plant his foot.
and this is going to be a hell of a hard team to do it against.
I mean, and he looked pretty. I mean, he did not look himself. I felt sorry for him. I think he needs more games off myself, but that's not my shot to call. So, anyway.
Richard is practicing the lookout.
Look out, Jameis.
Yeah, well, I mean,
here, let me help you up there, Jameis. Here, give me
here's where I will start all of this, because I'm not like a total analytics guy, but I like to look at what teams are accomplishing. In the case of Justin Herbert, the quarterback for the Chargers, he started off the season really playing like shite, but in the last 5 games, he's thrown for an average of 288, almost 300 yards a game. We know that Herbert is capable. He's getting used to dealing with wide receivers that maybe he hasn't been working with for an overly long period of time. The thing that makes this team difficult, they're 4-3, and they have underperformed in the red zone. They're not scoring touchdowns. They've got like 17 field goals compared, I want to say, to let me get this right so I don't fuck it up. The overall scoring on this team: 12 touchdowns and 17 field goals.
Is that the Harbaugh influence showing through?
It's hard to say, because it's not like I sit and watch this team. What I can tell you, he's completing 65% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,443 yards, which for him, isn't necessarily great. It's only 206.1 yards per game. But like I said, 288 yards per game in the last 5 played. Here's another one. He's thrown 8 touchdowns, which isn't very many, but only 1 interception.
Huh.
He's been sacked 15 times. That's almost as much as Deshaun Watson was sacked in 1 game. And he's got an overall rating of 98.2.
That's still good.
But what he has behind him is J.K. Dobbins, the running back. Yeah. We're all familiar with him. Of 4.8 per carry. He's run for 535 yards this season, and that gives them a guy who can break a big play. His long this year is 61 yards, and he's averaging about 76.5 yards per game. Well, after that, Gus Edwards, the eternal backup for the Ravens, is now with the Chargers, and he's only averaging 3 yards a carry. There's really nothing else going on. It's Dobbins, and but he's been getting his yardage that way. But it's a good way to get a guy injured. Receiving wise, it is really a mixed bag. I mean, you're looking at the leading receiver with 30 receptions, McConkey, and then Disley, the tight end, with 26 receptions. And then Dobbins himself has 19 receptions. Wow. The ball is being spread around, but they don't have, I would say their deepest threat is Palmer, and averaging about 16 yards a catch. But he's only got 15 receptions. So this team is underperformed offensively, but defensively, they are overperforming. And this is what is going to give Jameis Winston and the Browns a hell of a tough time. They've sacked the quarterback 18 times this year. And the sacks are coming from Mack, their linebacker, coming from a defensive end, Fox, coming from Dupree, a linebacker. So they're doing a lot of blitzing. And Bosa, linebacker, he's got 2.
Yeah, sure.
And, they are getting to the quarterback. And that and they've given up an average of 13 points a game. That's it, which is about how many we score a game.
If we're
So,
lucky.
yeah, this is, and I see people saying, this is part of our easy schedule. It's like, there's nothing easy about this.
No.
There's not an easy
Make it
game for the
stop.
Cleveland Browns.
Easy schedule. Yeah, we had our easy schedule. We won 1 game out of 5 or something. Oh,
Well,
jeez.
Denzel Ward is questionable. He's trying to work his way through the 85th concussion protocol. Kaliki
Does he
Hudson.
have any brain left? I mean, what's his brain like at this point?
I don't know. I mean, he did not participate Wednesday and Thursday. He returned today to practice, but was just not doing contact stuff. And they're going to make a decision on him after Saturday. We've heard that before, that it will be game time, then it will be no go.
Wow.
So that's that. Owusu Koromo is not playing, and that's all for the best for him health-wise.
So how long is he out for? We don't know.
We don't know, and that's week to week. And it was a stinger, I'm sure. When I saw it, that's what I believed, and I believe it more so now. But he's got a lot of soreness and the after effects of a bad situation. And he's such a fine player. You don't want to screw around with him. Jordan Hicks, also our linebacker, is out for the game.
We got Diabate and thoughts and prayers at the linebacker position then.
So what I would tell you is the injuries never stop. It all just keeps on going.
Make it stop.
I know. Then this great analysis from our friends at cleveland.com, which I thought was at least anything that is statistic based and isn't, Mary Kay Cabbagehead and the wrong dresses she wears. And, it's like, I don't know if you're seeing in these videos what she's wearing.
No, I don't. I try to.
They only shoot her up from a certain way because she's gone apple shaped on us. It happens to older people, But unfortunately, as she's gotten older, not wiser, and her takes are no better. But at any rate, the question that's asked in the article is that did the Browns receivers get open more for Jameis Winston than they did for Deshaun Watson? And
if you have to ask the question, the answer is yes.
Well, but the thing that's interesting about this is that the Ravens have been really bad against the pass this year. So I wouldn't be judging everything by one game, but looking at this from a perspective of separation, which is something that we've talked about quite a bit with this group of wide receivers. Carolina's Jatavian Sanders leads all players in average yards of separation, which is 5.1 yards. And Jalen Polk of New England has the worst separation, 1.7 yards. All right. Then the other thing is the cushion that the receivers get against them. And Tutu Atwell of the Rams has the best average cushion, 8.2, while Buffalo's Keon Coleman has the worst average cushion at 4.3. So you see the parameters that we're working with here. Jerry Jeudy, all right. It's interesting. He had the best connection, I guess you would say, with Deshaun Watson. And he caught 20 of the 36 targets, all right, for an average of 12.5 yards per reception. Through week 6, he averaged 2.68 yards of separation. That's Jerry Jeudy, right? He actually created more average separation in 2023 last year with Denver, 3.6.
Wow.
Right. So this all stuff just to factor in. And in the win, it was 2.04 average yards of separation for Jerry Jeudy. That's all. Right.
Yeah.
But he caught 5 of 8 targets for 79 yards. So he got less separation, but he caught more passes and got more yardage. Right?
Well, I think Winston is a lot less afraid of criticism for his play than Watson obviously was. Watson was probably scared that, oh, if I throw a pick or throw a bad pass, the whole crowd is going to start booing me.
Well, it wouldn't have
Whereas
mattered. They're going to boo
it
him
wouldn't have
anyway.
mattered anyway. But Winston just seemed a lot more confident. Maybe it's his strong faith or whatever it is that he does.
No, I think he's a stronger arm, and I will go down he's screaming and yelling that Deshaun Watson's arm is gone. He's got a noodle now compared to what he used to have. He just doesn't have arm strength, and I think that goes back to the shoulder injury. But
he's Deshaun Kaiser, only older.
Yeah. Now, Judy's average separation, by the way, this year is at 2.5 yards with a cushion of 5.9. All right. So those are his statistics. Elijah Moore. All right. We can go 5 games because the week 4 game against Las Vegas, the Raiders, wasn't tabulated for some reason. Maybe it's just, but in the other 5 games, Moore had an average of 3.77 yards of separation, which is more than Judy has had. His lack of involvement, though, was evident, shall we say. 16 to 23 targets. He wasn't being targeted much for 95 yards. Only 5.94 yards per reception, which is abysmal. With Winston, Moore had 2.5 average yards of separation in week 8. In the last game, in the win, only 2.5. He finished with the season high 12 targets for 85 yards, 10.6 per reception. So the pattern we're seeing early on is that the wide receivers underperformed their openness, but improved the number of balls they caught, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So far this season, he has the same average separation as last year, 3.7. It's not hideous. It's not great. All right. The average cushion, he's being given a little more cushion, 6.8. Cedric Tillman. In the 2 games that Tillman has actually gotten a chance, 3.47 yards of separation. He finished the win with 2.93 average yards of separation, which again was less. So It wasn't that they were separating more from the Ravens. The separation was really most evident, of course, on the long pass play, 38-yard catch, where he blew right by Eddie Jackson. And that was embarrassing for the Ravens. So Tillman this season, a 3.2 average separation with a cushion of 6.2. So we're all about the same. David Njoku, he's got averaged 3.83 yards of separation. Of course, he is lining up in many instances with linebackers or safeties. He caught 5 of his 8 targets for 11.6 per reception. However, in the win, only 2.31 yards of separation. It's not clear whether Njoku is going to play this Sunday. All right.
Oh, what's wrong with him again?
Who knows?
Is he dead?
I think he's just playing hurt, just like Myles Garrett is just flat out playing hurt. So the way that I analyze this without the anti-Deshaun Watson spin of it is that there are 2 factors involved. The receivers are not suddenly outperforming themselves. All right. It isn't like they see Jameis Winston and go, oh, yes, it's no longer Deshaun. Okay. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do, even with lesser amounts of separation, that the ball is getting there on time and the ball is leaving the quarterback's hands much faster. 2.94 seconds for Deshaun Watson, 2.5 to 2.6 seconds for Winston.
That's a massive difference.
In football, it's a massive difference. And if your eyes start wandering like Deshaun's did on the field all the time, that split moment where the receiver
gone.
has that is gone is absolutely
gone.
right. And then,
gone.
you're done.
It's gone.
The difference is that Jameis Winston was pulling the trigger. He was
He was
surveying the field
unafraid.
faster and getting rid of the ball faster.
Yeah. He was decisiveness. I mean, that's what Flacco did too last year. He was decisive. He wasn't always right, but he was far more decisive.
I mean, look, you can have it one way or the other. You can eat the ball like Watson, who didn't want to throw interceptions, or you can throw a lot of interceptions like Flacco and like Winston does, and live with the results if you can put up points.
Yeah, I mean, interceptions are all right if you were going to punt the ball anyway, But
well, not if they're in deep in your own territory.
Exactly,
And it's like anything else. Nobody likes turnovers, but if your receivers only have 2.5 yards of separation, and if that ball is put on their back hip instead of in front of them, that ball can carry them into the air, and that can cause an interception. There's a lot of different things that can happen here, but I think the important thing is, first of all, to take Deshaun Watson out of your vocabulary because he's no longer relevant. And second of all, it has nothing to do with the effort that the receivers are making. It has everything to do with the protection holding up long enough to allow him 2.62 seconds to throw the football to a primary receiver. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Is Winston taller than Watson? I don't even know. I think he might be slightly taller.
I've always felt that Jameis Winston was 6'3" or 6'4".
Yeah.
I don't know about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. I think Winston is taller, but that's just anecdotal.
So as far as the Browns defense is concerned, they got to follow up what they did with Derrick Henry. Got to get into the backfield and stop J.K. Dobbins. The problem is if Herbert is getting back to his older self, then the wide receivers are going to have a lot of opportunities against the Browns. The Browns' defensive line has to get penetration and stop the running game, but this guy's only been sacked once this year, and we are not working with our weapons at all because they're hurt. Basically, our defensive line is more of a rotational defensive line than it is something run by Myles Garrett and a superstar. It's more in and out rest and throwing as many bodies at the other team as we possibly can.
Well, we're relying on Shelby Harris and Hurst and a bag of peanuts to be on our line. So,
and what Stefanski said about the Chargers defense, they're not giving up points, they're not giving up red zone drives, and just not a lot of plays even in the red zone. I mean, it's good. Teams are not moving the ball with any consistency against this defense. Wolfgang, I tend to agree.
I
as goofy as it sounds, looking back at it with the Ravens, the Ravens giving up 294 passing yards per game is totally not Harbaugh-esque in Baltimore. That's not usually what they do, and they depend on getting pressure on the quarterback. They didn't do that against Cleveland. Now we're going to be playing a team that has sat quarterback 18 times, has some solid players up front to rush, and the question is, can the Browns' offensive line give enough push to the running game to back them off of Jameis? And it's going to be tough because, we have to go at them with a post-traumatic injury Nick Chubb and Deontay Foreman, who I don't even think wants to be on the Browns, to be very honest with you. So, the Chargers are only 28th in passing yardage this season.
Wow.
But more recently, it's been better, right? So
how's their kicking game? How's their? You said they got all these field goals, so do they got a reliable kicker?
I think they have Dicker, the kicker.
The kicker.
I believe that's who they got. Let me take a look here for you. let me see here. Yep, Dicker the kicker. He's kicked 17 field goals, but I don't have a percentage on him.
Okay.
But he is considered, at least to my knowledge, a good kicker. So, but that's what they've been doing. They've been kicking field goals, more than, and I'm sure that means they've been in their share of red zones without scoring touchdowns. And part of that might be when the field gets compressed.
Well, that's horrible on his fucking, the way he is.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. We're missing Tommy Togiai. All right.
Bring him back.
Yeah, God almighty.
Wow.
Somebody's yelling here. What is it, Preston? Just because you get separated, the O-line is bad. It's like a stat that is like putting the chicken before the egg. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I mean, the
stats
problem
are stats. I mean, you can read whatever you want into them.
Yeah, Winston had 2.62 seconds to throw the football consistently because they didn't really much lay a hand on him except on a miscommunication, which Kevin Stefanski was trying desperately to defend DeJuan Jones on, saying it wasn't his fault. It was just a miscommunication. And I don't know where the communication was that nobody were blocked Hamilton on a blitz. But
I got a question for you. Has Kent Dorsey done any interviews? Has he been up on, after the game or anything like that?
No, that's a guy we don't hear from whatsoever. And what was interesting, he did say something, though, that was interesting. And I'm not sure if it was done in a presser or just or during a practice or whatever. He said that throughout the game, he and Stefanski are communicating, and that the long touchdown pass to Cedric was Kevin's call.
It was Kevin's idea. Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, delegation wins.
Exactly.
Because nobody can know everything.
Or do everything at the same time. Multitask, particularly for men, is difficult as hell. I don't recommend it.
Because I was as young as I was in my business, I sat in all the programming meetings with record labels and all that because I had extreme familiarity with music. But we would sit and talk about it, the program director, the assistant program director, and myself, and we would go over, what do we want from this? Do we move early on this because this is going to be huge, that kind of thing. And we took a lot of chances on songs and added them very early, which made us, in Flint especially,
innovative.
Yeah, because it was like, and I'm sure we played our share of a couple of bow wows here and there, but the bottom line was, if you wanted to hear a song first, people would come to us to do it.
Right.
But I wouldn't have known that by myself. My great program directors, Lee St. Michael's, the late Lee St. Michael's, and the current Scott Shannon was, but Scott Seipel. These gentlemen contributed mightily to, and if I was just sitting there saying, this is what we're going to play and this is what we're not going to play, it would have been a real problem. But delegation wins. That's, so,
Motor City 5.
Yeah. I don't think that we were
kick out the jams.
Yeah. We weren't playing Ted Nugent either. The closest we came to playing Ted Nugent was Damn Yankees, Can You Take Me Higher? He played in that band. That was about it.
Stranglehold was his. He was nothing after that Stranglehold song. Yeah,
he was nothing. He's an idiot.
Nothing,
but he is a fucking idiot. So as far as what we need to do, we got to stop the running game. You've got to score some points against a team that isn't giving up many of them. They've only given up over 20 points once this season. That was against the Steelers of all people.
Wow.
I mean, anything can happen in a given week, but you know,
it's a weird year, though, man. People are losing a lot of money, I think.
So that's you know, the way you get things done. You know, some of the Browns players actually played for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and you know, they see some similarities and wrinkles in the way they're doing things there. So with all this said, and I don't want to get into too much more about the football game, no, the Browns are not playing for a for a playoff position. But I do want to point something else out which really bothers the hell out of me. And I'm just pulling this out of the air that the Bengals, T. Higgins and Orlando Brown Jr., their left tackle, they're doubtful for Sunday's game against the Raiders. And while running back Zach Moss for the Bengals did not practice with a neck injury. And neither Higgins nor Brown practiced all week. Right. But the thing that really bothered me about this article is an ESPN article, is that they said that this is really important for the Bengals playoff drive. They're only one game better than we are, for Christ's sake.
They're awful.
They're 3-5 with Zach Taylor moron as their coach. And neither of these teams are playoff teams. The Bengals have a much better chance because they actually have a real quarterback who's somewhat damaged and but an absolute moron for a head coach. Unreal.
Yeah,
but
he is good.
Who's being picked to win? It ain't the Browns. And looking at Bleacher Report, they're saying the Chargers 23-20. And again, you're going to get these types of scores. And look at Rick May. He comes right up with that too, 23-17. The streak snapped at one. But this team doesn't give up many points, and it would be hard to fathom that the Browns would score a lot of points unless somehow they would get like pick sixes. You know, and the thing is, teams aren't even sustaining drives against this defense. So that's going to be a tough one. ESPN's pick, you know, and again, knowing the Chargers are 4-3, they're playing for something, and the Browns are trying to convince themselves that their season isn't over, and a loss on Sunday will convince the whole team that the season is completely over. ESPN is saying that Jameis Winston is going to throw 2 interceptions, and the Chargers will win, depending on which person is picking, 24-22, 17-16, 23-16. But it's, to me, it all comes down to stopping their running game. If you stop Dobbins, you at least have a chance to force Herbert into mistakes, which he has made some in the past. Whether he's making them now, you know, Ron Shane is saying 21-17 Browns, 3 touchdowns against this team. They've never given up more than 20 this year. It would be hard to envision the Browns doing that. But, you know, it's but everybody is picking the game pretty much the same way, and I'll do it this way. The USA Today picks, 3 are picking the Brown, or 4 are picking the Browns, 2 are picking the Chargers. That's just a home field thing, maybe. I don't know. I just haven't seen the Chargers play this year, and I'm going by what Herbert had done in the past with a completely different offense. So your guess is as good as mine. My guess is that the Browns will lose the game, and the score will be somewhere in the range of 24-13. That will be my guess.
I'm going to say
And again, I don't get upset about it because I think that it's already carved in stone because the start of the team. Now the only question is, can the coaching staff coach these guys up and prove that they can keep these players interested, or are the players going to start wandering and doing stupid things and falling apart?
I'm a bit more gloomy. I'm going to say Chargers 34, Browns 10. I think we're
Right.
going to get our ass kicked because we don't match up well against this team.
Well,
And if we
I
get
wouldn't have
down
thought we
early,
would match up well against the Ravens either, but we did.
like if there's some catastrophic fumble or interception or something, we ain't coming back.
Yeah,
So
and this is where turnovers will become
yeah,
really
this is going to be
devastating
turnover
for
game.
Browns
Yeah,
if
we're
they
going
turn
to
the
get
ball
killed.
over. So
Yeah.
now turning to the Cavaliers, which is a much more enlightening and
Yay!
happy kind of thing.
150 points.
They're scoring an enormous number of points, hitting enormous percentages of 3-point shots. I mean, especially the Karis LeVert, and I don't know where that's coming from. One thing I do want to say about Karis, though, and it's one of the things that I had a big problem with last year when he shoots the ball, his elbow, and this is my right
Yeah,
arm.
flies out at like a 80-degree angle.
It's really
Yeah,
weird, and you
yeah.
you get this imparted spin on the ball. And I was watching him in the last game, and he has tucked that elbow down, and he's
Yes.
more, and he is shooting better. The question is whether he will revert when under pressure.
Revert Levert.
That's right.
Oh,
Or will he continue with the mechanical approach, which is working so far for him? Uh, like I said, Banchero is an exceedingly important player for this team.
he is so good. He's like
He,
he is LeBron-esque in a way.
playing 36.4 minutes and averaging 29 a game. All right. But he was giving you 6.5 defensive rebounds, almost 9 rebounds overall, 5.6 assists. I mean, he was doing it all. So who was going to carry the load when Banchero can't play? You first look to Franz Wagner because he has given
A Nazi.
the,
Did I say that? I
what?
did. Well, never mind.
Well, the Wagner has given the Cavaliers all kinds of trouble when he's
Yeah.
running down the lane and going downhill against them and getting way too many looks at the basket from close in. That was the playoffs last year. It'll be interesting to see how the bigs, with having a healthy Jared Allen and having an energized Evan Mobley, how we shut that move down and force them to shoot more perimeter shots. Jalen Suggs is the next scorer up. And, he is a guy who's a really good defensive player. He's getting about 2.2 steals a game. He's getting 4 assists a game. He's getting 5 rebounds. He's a rugged player who tends to get injured a bit much. He's not the greatest percentage shooter in the world. Mo Wagner, the goon who plays center, is a guy who I would like somebody to kick him in the nuts because I don't like this guy. And I think I don't respect players who do stuff like this. And I hope we hand his hat to him. Wendell Carter Jr. Is about 9 points a game and getting about 30 minutes a night. And he's the other center who's splitting time with Mo Wagner. And Caldwell Pope, who's old, a guy named Black, who's a guard, who's averaging 8.4 points and getting 25 and a half minutes. And that's where it falls off after that. So Cole Anthony is a guy who has in the past produced some points for them, but he's only down to 14 minutes a game right now. And that's going to probably go up. They've got to try to find offense to keep up with the Cavaliers. So, it's taking Banchero off this team. What you're going to see,
big hole. That's like taking LeBron off of the Cavs. I
The
mean, that was
Magic is going to come
that's
out
some big ball.
aggressively, trying to push tempo and to try to press out. In other words, if and this is what they did in the playoffs last year, when you're dealing with Darius Garland handling the
Yeah,
ball, they're going to come out and try to pressure him and push him closer to the midcourt line, not get into the sets early. So far, Garland has had an extra half step that he didn't have last year. And
yeah, he
uh,
hasn't gotten hit in the chops yet either.
yeah,
You know,
and that's what, again, you turn a corner, you pull up and you shoot. And I'm hoping that Darius is getting smarter about this. You don't have to drive it straight to the hole. You can pull up and just shoot a ball. You can a floater, and that becomes a way of scoring the basketball. We've got Donovan Mitchell, who is extraordinary.
yeah,
Obviously, well, we're using Evan Mobley very, very differently this year, which is good. He's getting the ball in many instances at the top of the key, and they're just letting him drive to the basket,
yeah,
taking long strides.
amazingly, yeah.
The mistake that JB was making was showing up to work in Cleveland, but besides that,
Other than that, yeah,
yeah, was giving the ball to Mobley posted down with his back to the basket, and he would start dribbling the ball and get the ball taken from
and
him.
get double teamed and lose the ball, and it
Yeah,
was all nonsense.
turnover machine. Now with him out front,
He's
and
not getting double teamed, and he can get
he
around
does
people.
he does
Yep.
not have a quick first step, but he does have long strides. And the other thing that is nice is he is leading with his shoulder and going into the basket instead of
Yep.
moving away from the basket. And he's using the backboard uh, to bank shots in rather than just trying to shoot them straight into the basket. He's
Correct.
doing a lot of using, he's still not a huge man muscularly, but he's using that long stride and momentum to be able to lower his shoulder down and get into the basket. And that's helping tremendously. Jared Allen is playing like we hope he's going to be capable of playing throughout the season, which is getting rebounds, scoring points down low. And
Yep.
he's also, he and Mobley are blocking shots and making life miserable for people gliding down the lane, hopefully like Franz Wagner, who will
Boom.
discover what it's like to that Hachimura found out for the Lakers
Oh god.
when you try
Oh,
a
that
one-handed slam dunk and you get met at the top.
I saw that game, and I saw the Knicks game. The Lakers, man, the thing that struck me about that game was, did Anthony Davis look so sad and miserable and looked like he was playing with a Charlie horse the entire game?
Yeah,
He just
but he was
he just wanna
whining like
be
a
there.
little bitch. I mean,
He
he
didn't wanna
was.
be there.
I don't know what more calls they wanted. They were 28 for
Oh,
33 from the
fucking
free
hell!
throw line. The Cavaliers were 5 for 8. They outscored the Cavaliers by 23 points and still lost
At the
by
free throw
24.
line. Yeah. They had a foul called on us, like, every other possession, it seemed like. It was amazing. But the
Yeah,
Lakers never committed any fouls, did they? They never did.
no, and they kept
No.
stopping the clock for the Lakers to try to get
Yep,
them to come back in the game. It was a
correct.
horribly officiated game, and
It was,
I would really
absolutely
invest those
shocking.
officials. It was that bad, and
Yeah.
just not good. Um,
And the Knicks game, I was listening to WTAM, and I got a shout out on because they have this text line, like 1-216-440-9566. I sent it a text and I got a shout out from Plymouth, England. How about that? So anybody listening to the game on WTAM the other night, that was me.
oh wow, way to go, Broncola!
It was like phoning up Pete Franklin. I felt like a 7-year-old kid once again. So I think what we should do is trade Isaac Okoro for LeBron. What do you think, Pete? Do you think they'll go for it?
Pigskin Pete predicts.
Predicts.
No, I mean, look at the Cavaliers though. Donovan Mitchell's averaging about 24 points a game. Allen about 11 rebounds a game. Darius Garland 6 assists a game. And steals Donovan Mitchell 2 a game. Blocks Evan Mobley 2 a game. But here's the beautiful stat. And I want to point this out because I had such problems with JB Bickerstaff in the last several seasons.
You did.
That it limited my willingness to talk about the Cavaliers because he couldn't drop an inbounds play and everything was whacked. But so far, Donovan Mitchell's played an average of 30 minutes a game. Mobley 29, Allen 28.8, Garland
That's fantastic,
27.
isn't it?
Yes, Levert 21.6. Isn't that something? We're getting about 15 minutes a game out of Ty Jerome, about 24 out of Dean Wade. We're getting 18 out of Niang before he has to be pulled off the court from sheer exhaustion. We're getting 19 from Sam Merrill. And the interesting thing is, Sam Merrill's shot is off right now.
Yeah.
But
he
has an inordinate plus number while he's on the floor. His work done is defense. And if he can start nailing down some of the threes, but he's been a plus player on the floor for the Cavaliers. And Okoro at 17 minutes a game has really kind of fallen back into his role as a more defensive player, not really doing a lot of, concerning himself with 3-point shooting. And he discovered that nobody in the league really wanted his services trying to be a 3-point bricklayer. So he is a good defensive player, and he can give you some meaningful minutes on a specific player that you want to shut down. So there's that. We're really doing a nice job of distributing minutes, and Kenny Atkinson seems to understand that the game is being played with tempo, and you got to pull men in and out, and you got to find who works with who. And we still haven't seen Max Strus. We're not going to for a little while, and they can let him heal up completely. But he becomes a good 3-point weapon and a hustle player as well. And what I can tell you in the Knicks game, they out hustled the Knicks.
Absolutely, 100%.
And in the fourth quarter, when it counted, early in the game, it looked like, the Knicks are going to give them a problem. But, in the end, they
wore them down. Thibodeau got the Knicks tired, and the Cavs came out in the fourth. And the fucking Lakers laid down and died in the fourth quarter. They
were out of the game when the game began. I mean, the Cavaliers just came out and just waylaid them, and but it's all divided up. And Darius Garland is shooting threes, but he's also dishing off 6 assists a game. And if you're looking at the points per game, Evan Mobley is up to 19.2 points a game, and he's basically so far a 19-8 guy. And I'll be honest with you, there's upside here. If he continues doing what he's doing, he can become a 20-point-a-night scorer consistently, like a 20-10 guy. And
the team's great to watch. I mean, how entertaining it was to watch this team. When you watched the Bickerstaff team, you were thought, oh my God, why am I watching this? But this actually looked like entertaining basketball. And we were kicking people's ass.
Well, and they're playing well together. They're moving the ball side to side. They're making that one more pass.
Yeah.
And the threes they're taking are not like Bickerstaff's stalled offense where they were desperation heaves.
Yeah, with 3 seconds left. Yeah.
Within the flow of the game, they're managing and not afraid to put it up early in the shot clock if it's a good look. And that's great.
This is a home game?
Yes, this is in Cleveland. It's going to be a 7:00 start. So, I'd like to see us go 6-0, and we would be the favorites to defeat the Magic without Banchero. What you got to look out for is they don't yet know how bad life is without Banchero, and they may be convinced that they can go at it on their own at first. But this injury for this young man is a tough one, and it's going to be a lengthy one. Yeah. And this team is going to realize sooner or later how much they're missing him. And, it's our job to make them realize it right away. That's
I think he's awesome, man. He's one of my favorite players, Bankero. If I had to pick players not on the Cavs that I like, it would be him.
He's physical. He's big.
He's tough.
He can get his points around the basket. He improved his perimeter shooting. Still needed to work on his three, but that intermediate shot, he is developed better. He's a very strong young man.
I mean, when he goes to a big market, which will probably be, for his first contract, he'll be massive. He'll be a big celebrity, I think.
Well, I mean, he's a guy who the attention was a lot on the Magic, and this year, this is going to hurt them because it's not like they made massive improvements in the off season. They overachieved last year, in my estimation, and a lot of it was just that Wagner and Banchero and a lot of spirited up-tempo defense and tempo playing up and down the floor. And it damn near got us out of the playoffs. They did a good job against Cleveland and fought real hard. But, we'll see what happens. It all starts at 7:00 tonight, and I'll be watching, and I'm sure you all will be watching too.
I will definitely be on it because this is you guys put your clocks back this weekend.
Yes.
So
it's
that.
What day is it? Tomorrow, Sunday we do it, right?
Sunday it would be 2 a.m. Sunday.
Yeah. So so we'll be buying ourselves an extra hour of sleep,
which is nice.
Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. I wish I could say greater joyful things about the Browns, but it isn't that I'm upset, and I'm not. I want Jameis Winston to do well, just like I wanted Joe Flacco to do well, and I think that we have a better chance of winning a game against the Chargers with Jameis Winston than with Deshaun Watson. I just don't think that there was any chance that we were going to win. I think he's damaged goods in many, many ways, but I think physically his arm is a noodle now, and I don't understand why the organization, I think Jimmy Haslam refuses to acknowledge the mistake that he made, and again,
let him go.
We all make mistakes. I mean, for God's sakes, you don't compound mistakes. That's the thing. And
you try to learn from them, not like reduplicate them over and over and over again.
But that's what stubborn people do. So Bronk, thanks a lot for joining us. I appreciate it. And we will be back again at halftime and post-game of the Browns game. So be looking for that. I'll put that up on Twitter, the location, and I'll be around at the half and after the game.
Well, I hope we don't get killed on Sunday, but I have a feeling it's going to be a bad game. So,
somebody is telling the truth here. Moohead, I just watched an old show of you with your ass out. Yeah, it's true.
That did happen. That really did happen.
I did. I moved people. Yeah,
it did happen.
My ass looks like the Sherwin-Williams Cover the Earth logo.
Yes.
You don't want to see that again. No, you do not.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That, really
that was an old show, and this is an old ass. That's as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson. I doing it to Hugh? I mooned Hugh.
That was like 6 years ago now. Wow.
Oh, God. Yeah,
Wait till you find the one.
No, I'm willing to do almost anything, I suppose, at some point in time.
All I gotta say to Jacob out there is wait till you find the episode where Jim fucking Brown sings "The Girl from Ipanema," if that's out there.
If it's out there laying around, Jim fucking Brown singing "The Girl from Ipanema" is one of the classic moments in 22 years of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for remembering, Jacob. And there's still plenty of funny things to go. We just don't know when they're going to happen because none of this is scripted.
Thanks
again. And it was over Hugh Jackson masturbating over the challenge flag.
Oh yeah, that was fucking amazing. You remember that?
You're gonna
He's
make
like,
me
am I gonna
blush.
throw it? Am I gonna not? He Terry Pluto. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember why it was.
Well, thank you. That's just like reminiscing, walking through the park and reminiscing. Yeah. So we'll be back again on Sunday. Until then, hasta la vista, pasture heads. Good night.
Bah, bah.